News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and
George.
All right, we are back. It is the unofficial 40 podcast right here at Soonerscoop.com, where almost the entire gang is here because Bob Przybylo is out at Devon Park right now, where I see the bastard Mike White being interviewed on the television. I like calling him Australian just because I know New Zealanders hate it when you mess that up. Just from the Steven Adams days. Welcome back, everybody. OU in the Women's College World Series Championship Series. We have a man who just cannot stay away from the studio. Josh McCuistion is back once again. Congratulations, Josh. Welcome.
Is it the renovations? Like, why am I suddenly here all the time?
The place is really nice to just hang out in. It's getting lovely.
Yeah, it is.
All the money has been spent too, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, like it's knowing that is we're over that bridge.
My happiest moment, and I was really thinking that I might physically cry, was when they took the dumpster away, because just seeing that eyesore, people were throwing their mattresses in it. There was a dining room table somebody tried to throw into it. What happened was it coincided with the end of the semester, so students were like, "Oh, there's a dumpster," and I'm not judging anybody. I've thrown my fair share of couches in apartment dumpsters. I've done it. But it was my apartment.
I always know where a good dumpster is for something I want to get rid of. Like I know, like I can tell you right now.
This is the Northwest Oklahoma City talking.
Yes, I can tell you right now in Houston, I know the dumpster I go to when I have something that the trash guys are not going to take. Like, I know exactly where I'm going.
Can I tell you my latest fascination before we get the rest of the crew in here, and let me see how you feel about it? Because I know you are a man who mows his own lawn. You feel passionate about that.
That's right.
I am a man who hires it out.
Yeah.
Can I tell you how intrigued I am about scarifying my lawn?
You'll have to tell me more. I don't know.
What else do they call it? Unthatching?
Oh, I saw something. I think I saw a TikTok or something about that.
Where like you get all the dead grass pulled up from the soil, and it basically kills your yard.
Yeah.
But it also allows it to kind of bloom and have a second life. So like if your lawn has like more moss or weeds in it than grass, you scarify it, I guess. I cannot stop watching those videos. Now, I'm not going to get a real mower or anything like that anytime soon. That's like having a golf green. I'm not into that. I don't know how much that costs to do.
Yeah.
But those guys that are committed to that, they are committed to it.
I really wanted to aerate this year.
I've bought the little thing you step on.
I was told I didn't
after
need
about
to.
one pass, I was like, "Fuck this."
Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah, it's serious. But I mean, I'm a guy. I literally don't let anybody work in my yard. I do all my own mulch. I do all of it. I hate. I don't know. It's not like
enjoy going to the garden section at Home Depot and Lowe's,
and it's not like my turf. Matthew McConaughey in what's the show with he and Woody Harrelson, where they get in a big fight about mowing the damn yard. The cop drama.
True Detective.
True Detective. Yeah. Not that sort of deal. But I like it, man. I think it's because we work inside so damn much. It's nice to get outside and do anything.
Now, do you have do you judge people that go to the outdoor section at Lowe's versus Home Depot? Like, is there a turf war there between the two?
I'm not that person.
Okay.
I probably lean Lowe's, but I have
I could see you being like, oh, I only go to this specialty place. Only a few people know about it.
Oh, now see, my lawn care, I do. I have it is a mom and pop shop, and I go and get all my stuff from them. So.
Okay. Well, the two Youngs in the room are horrified by this discussion as they both live downtown in Oklahoma City.
They're like, "What's a lawn?"
I do like mowing. Mowing.
You didn't mow growing up. That was your problem, I bet. Like
I did.
that was your job in the summers?
Oh
was to
yeah,
mow people's yards?
Ask my dad. I mowed the lawn every summer for like 5 straight
Your
years.
yard or all your parents' friends'
We've
yard?
had this conversation before
My parents.
about George mowing.
Look, I do a lot of radio with a lot of different people.
We had a
I don't
big-
know
I
who
do
I've
too.
talked to. I'm like my mom. I'll talk to you about the same
just
shit
think
over
that-
and over and over again.
No, I think that's the problem. I think that you're just getting so old you forget the
That's not.
conversation.
No, this is not a discussion about being old or not.
I feel like we've
I
definitely
talk
talked
about a
this.
lot of shit. All right.
That sounded kind of like I drive a Dodge Stratus. That's what that felt like in
Fine.
that moment. Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. George Stoia. Big congratulations. His first appearance on the Paul Feinbaum show today. Fantastic, outstanding job. We were all, Eddie and I were in the control room while you were in here. Joe Jr. was here for the family business podcast, and he stuck around to check out your appearance, but it went well. Great job.
Yeah, no, it was fun. You know, I had done TV before. I've even done live TV. I did some in Denver when covering the Broncos, but I did get a little nervous when I popped up on the screen, and because I could see myself with Feinbaum, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
I realized, oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have. It should have been like you're just in a box and you're not really talking to anybody.
Well, because then it makes you feel like you're just like on radio,
right?
Because that's how I usually approach TV. It's like you're just talking, whatever. But when I could see myself on live TV with Feinbaum, I was just like, "Oh, this is pretty big."
I don't like live audiences. Like Eddie, for some reason, thrives in that situation. Like he's Mr. MC now. Everybody wants him to MC their stuff. He enjoys like public adoration that he can see. I don't know how you do that.
I'm with Eddie. I actually love that too. In college, I emceed several events with like hundreds of people, and it was awesome. There's a good adrenaline rush to it.
Is it the crowd like
The
feedback?
crowd, yes,
Yeah.
the crowd, and just it's fun. I like to be the center of attention, but this was just different because it was like I don't know, Feinbaum's just a big deal, and it was cool to be on there today. So
Is it also kind of weird that now that you're back in Oklahoma, you're doing stuff on the Sports Animal now, you're doing stuff that you know your dad pays attention to, and Josh he's right there with you. He has a psycho fan dad.
yeah, it's dad, and then
My
it's
dad.
also just your buddies who are obviously OU fans, and
If
just
you're doing
people,
it in Denver, nobody you know is really going to see.
right, they don't really give a shit, you know, and it's because they don't care about the Broncos or whatever. But you know, here it's just there's a lot of people that I know that tune into that stuff, and you know have also known me most of my life. So it was cool. It was definitely. Hopefully, I did good enough that maybe I'll be back on there again.
Eddie Radosevich is also here. Welcome, Eddie.
Hello. How's it going?
You're just playing second fiddle to everybody today.
I know. I'm going to kill myself tonight. No,
You've
that
got
was
bingo tomorrow night to get your mojo back.
Sure. That was one of the closest moments I've had to having a child and watching him on stage. Very proud.
I've learned a lot
Very
from
proud
Eddie.
of you.
Eddie, I feel like I have.
It was good.
Learned a lot from him. So this, credit to him. And I'm sure, Eddie and I were talking about it. But when Paul comes to town July 1st, hopefully we can maybe get him in the studio.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So
July 1 is a Saturday?
It's a Monday.
Oh, it's a Monday.
Yeah.
because they're
all
doing
that
a bunch
stuff.
of those events on a Monday that I'm
Like a
just like I have
breakfast
no
in Tulsa
idea
with Switzer and
how many people are going to show
Okay.
up on a Monday. But
Okay.
I think Dari Noka's going to be up in Tulsa
Yeah.
with the Switzer thing.
the head coaches will be speaking at Toby
Is
Keith's
that on the
Bar and
first
Grill.
as well?
I was going to say.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an all-day
We're gonna
thing.
get
And then
Dari
they all
around.
meet
they're-
at Owen Field.
Okay.
I don't know if Switzer will come to Owen Field, but it was
I'm sure he
2
will.
o'clock? Is that when the Owen Field part starts? Like 2 to 6?
I thought it was like 5 to like 10.
Okay. Oh, because there's a drone
But there's
show and everything.
I think you're thinking of the open house. That's a little
right, yeah.
earlier in the afternoon.
where they will take you through the Switzer Center. You can go to Love's Field. And
Love's
get a little
Field.
tour.
I want to go to Love's Field. I haven't even seen the inside of like the locker rooms and batting cages and all that stuff.
I don't think a lot of people have.
I don't think
They haven't
anyone. I don't
been
think
in there
anyone
very
has.
long.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's coming up July 1st. George, you were also at a City Chamber of Commerce kind of OU presentation deal today about the new entertainment district that's being proposed.
Yeah, I mean, basically the nuts and bolts.
Glad you didn't do that on Feinbaum. You wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah, I would have been canned. The nuts and bolts of this meeting basically it has gotten now to where they're going to have a vote for the planning commission from the city on June 13th, and once that passes, which I anticipate it'll pass, it'll go to a vote in city council probably in July or early August, is my understanding. We'll see. I mean, I think they're optimistic that it'll pass. It looks awesome. The renderings of it.
I think it looks unbelievable. And I guess it's one of those things too that you'd never like the renderings never exactly what it is. But if they could do anything close to that, it'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, I think that, look, there's a lot of negatives to it in terms of it not being on campus, and I don't like that part of it. But at the same time, it's like it's this or they're playing the Lloyd Noble again for another 50 years. And Carrie, to your point, because I know what you're going to say, like, should they have done something like this or some other option 20 years ago? 100%. But now that you're here, you have to make this happen. Whatever it takes, you've got to figure this out.
Yeah, and look, NIL, I get it. Facilities, you talked to Josie about that in Destin. Nobody knows where the money needs to go right now in building a basketball facility on campus. There's no reason to do that with the uncertainty that's out there. But at the same time, I just keep going back. 1975. That's when the Lloyd Noble was built.
Yeah, it's insane.
I would love. I need to finally just sit down and do the research on this when I have time. But I would love to know how many other, basketball programs at Power 5 schools have played their games for 49 years straight in the same arena.
Well, Kansas.
Yeah.
But
not like you're talking about unhistorical
places.
places.
I was just making a joke there. I mean, you could say Cameron Indoor, like you've got all these places, but yeah, I'm sure it's not a lot. And I think the benefit for Oklahoma is it's going to cost $330 million to build just the arena. The entertainment district is $1.2 billion, but just the arena, and OU is paying $100 million of that, $25 million up front, $75 million over the course of 25 years. They're basically going to be renting this building, and so, if the city's paying for the other part of it, I guess that's in today's climate financially, I think that it's a win for Oklahoma.
I think the only one that might be close to Lloyd Noble Center, Alabama built theirs in like 1960,
and they're getting a new arena, aren't they?
Well, they're
kind of in the same position.
They're in the same position, looking for other options, I believe. And in fact, I think I saw one of the Alabama reporters put something out, even maybe last week or maybe even this week, talking about their board of regents or whatever. It's on the new minutes for their new meeting or whatever.
I just, you have to do what you have to do in this day and age with, like I said, the uncertainty that's out there. But at the same time, as a guy that lives in Norman, has lived here for over 20 years, like, I just know this city. Like, my day-to-day issues are just get the homeless guy out of the middle of the road walking toward me when I'm going down Porter. Like, that's a big issue. The streets suck. And they're trying to fix them. They're kind of patchworking them. Like $1.2 billion for an entertainment district in Norman, which is not really, like, everyone in Norman just kind of lives in, goes to quirky places. They go downtown. They go into Campus Corner. Like, nobody in town is going out to the mall or, the areas. Like, Ed Noble Parkway is kind of a dead area because they tried to make that, and then they built University Park, and now University Park has, there's stuff there, but it's not really, it's a lot of local stuff. And I mean, there's not like a lot of big, outlets that come here. The mall, if you go into that, it's half barren now. I just don't know how this town supports a $1.2 billion entertainment district and how you get enough people to occupy that building throughout the year besides basketball and gymnastics to make it worth Norman's while.
And that's what was interesting, that the number they threw out there is that they would only occupy, OU would only occupy it 24% of the time. And it's like, okay, where's the other 76% coming? I mean, there's how many concerts are you going to
get? You got the Tower, you got the Criterion, you got Paycom, whatever. Right,
and they're building it. I mean, the new arena in Oklahoma City.
That outdoor went out like at Mustang or something.
Yeah, and I think they're really selling this on too, that it's creating, I guess 5,000 new jobs. They're going to have 3,000 new spaces for people to live. Like, I think they think that this could mean maybe people move to Norman in some capacity. I don't really know. I think
at the same time, though, everything around here is getting bigger. Like, outside of Oklahoma City, this is not anymore it used to be, it's all the way down 40 minutes away. I think that like just the growth of all these surrounding towns, like Sooner Fashion Ball is usually busy when I'm there, but you can tell it's from people that probably are driving in from Blanchard and all these other areas.
I think the
Falls
idea
Valley.
too is to have certain types of shops or bars and restaurants. Like I think that they want to build like a Jones Assembly equivalent, like next to the arena, which would be super cool.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
awesome.
If I was a college kid too, I would go out there and drink and hang out. But my other question too was
Legally, of course.
legally, yeah.
obviously.
I asked Joe,
they're not carding at those bars. The new entertainment.
I
plaza.
asked Joe C today at this meeting about it being off campus and just any concern about students being willing to go to the games, and he talked about they're already driving to Lloyd Noble, which is a fair point, and then they mentioned they're going to have shuttles. But I really want to ask Joe if on these shuttles they could have booze on them, because
booze
I think that
cruises.
would be awesome, or that at least have that you can be intoxicated on the ride back, because if you don't have to pay for
You
the
don't get a
Uber
public
and it's
intox
shuttling you back to campus, that's worth it. Otherwise, I would never take the shuttle.
It's interesting. There's a lot of questions, and this thing's been pushed back many, many times. Last thing on that. Like today, you and Bob were both over there. Did you feel like this was more of a sales job by the University of Oklahoma than it was an announcement of anything?
Yeah, because we really didn't learn anything new other than them showing off the pictures and telling us how much it was going to cost and how much OU's going to pay. So, like, I think that it was...
And I will say this, what was 110 that they're chipping in?
100.
100 million out of 300 million for the arena. That was
330
more,
million.
330 million. So nearly a third. That was more than I thought. I thought it might be like 50 or 20 or something ridiculous, just to kind of say, we're going to give some money to this.
And that 100 million's coming from, I think, like the OU Foundation maybe, and like private capital investments and stuff like that. So it's not like it's just like the revenue OU makes is just going straight to this thing. Like they have different sources to fund it. So, I mean, if you only have to pay 100 million and it's 75 million over a 25-year span, I think it's probably worth the investment.
All right. Moving on. You can read all about that on Soonerscoop.com. Don't forget, you can sign up for just $1. And reason that we're all here together tonight is OU getting ready to take on Texas in the first game of the championship series. It'd be interesting to see Jada Coleman's first bat after the walk-off the other day. If
I think she's going to hit another one.
Just
Gotta
swing
be
for the friggin'
patient.
fences. Yep.
Like, just wait for her pitch.
I would ambush the first pitch, hit it 400 feet over the left field fence.
But the reason that we're all gathered together is because it's the start of summer camps. Josh McCuistion is here, just flew in just a couple hours ago. I gave him Norman's Best Burger. How was it? The scratch burger.
Really good. I didn't know what to expect. I was not expecting a burger. I was thinking about what I was going to eat afterward, but that was really good. I'm kind of picky about burgers, and that was
Well, you won't get that in the
solid.
entertainment district, I can tell you that. No, you might. Maybe Scratch will move over there. No, but tell us about the schedule, when this is all going down, and exactly what's ahead here now into the weekend.
Yeah, before, until we record next, OU's got 2 camp sessions. They'll go tomorrow, Thursday, and they'll go again on Saturday. For those that don't know the layout, they usually have a morning session from about 9 to noon, take about an hour and a half, 2 hours off. Let get the kids out of the heat for a little bit, feed them, let them, take in some fluids, just kind of hydrate. And then they're back out again from about 3 to 5 in the afternoon. So the long and short, though, is this looks like a really good group. I'm still getting names. Literally, while we were talking about the entertainment district, there was another offensive lineman that put out that he's going to be there. So there is it's a really solid group. At least one offer at quarterback, and a guy that absolutely could end up being Oklahoma's 2026 quarterback, and Darian Coleman. He'll be working out tomorrow. A couple of big offensive linemen. A guy that I think people are just going to want to look at is we talked about the other day in the recruiting report, Pungatoa Katoa, the big offensive lineman from Euless Trinity in Dallas. He is 6'3", enlisted at about 345. He is a mountain of a human being, and just a really, really fun guy to watch. And there's some good defensive linemen there. So I think, everybody knows I gravitate toward the O-line, D-line, but I think that will absolutely be the group to watch tomorrow.
And there's always a couple guys that's like, oh, he's going to work out.
Yep.
All right, very good.
Yep. Because, and I kind of pressed Caden Jones and Mason James about it. We talked recently, and they're like, no, we're not going to work out.
Sometimes you get there, and then it's like, I can't let all these other guys get in.
That's a perfect example is, a guy that OU fans are familiar with is Jonah Williams. He showed up Houston Under Armour. He was really just waiting there to get his, the thing they give to all the guys who are playing the All-American game, and he was kind of putting in his appearance. And he told me afterward, he was like, I just decided I wanted to go. And so you always get a few guys like that. And there will be undoubtedly some visitors because you don't get a lot of guys that tweet out, I'm going if they don't play into camp. So you always get a few surprises that maybe you didn't know about. And then obviously, as we roll in, guys, this is also the first official visit weekend. They're going to have a couple guys on campus this weekend.
It was a year ago that Devon Mitchell came in, right?
Yep.
For his official visit.
That's right. And that's the nice thing. I mean, on Saturday you'll get a look at everybody. I mean, that's one of those things that's tough when they do the camps like this. Can't sneak anybody in because they're going to be around and be around the coaches. So we get a good look at everybody that's there.
It's going to be interesting to me to kind of just see how the camp is run. I mean, we've talked so much about staff additions, and there's a home run by T.R.A. Jennings. 2-0 lead for the Sooners in the top of the first. She did crush that. That was the longest hit ball I think Oklahoma's had this entire championship series, or this entire Women's College World Series. But Josh, we talked so much about the staff is changing. They've got more people devoted to recruiting now. Like last year and the last couple of years, you'd see J.R. Sandlin running around and kind of directing traffic and telling Brent Venables where to go. Like, are they going to it'll be interesting to me to see kind of they change things up a little bit. Do they, Brent has, he's going to be around and he gets kind of, I don't know, hotboxed a little bit by coaches all the time. And you see him, people have to come and drag him away and things. But is he more involved like in drills? And is he, doing things different? And is he spending time with Zach Alley? And how is that all going to just the general operation of it all? I'm kind of curious to see.
I am too, because that was something that Sandlin was really big on. For those that don't go to camps, JR was the guy that kind of kept the clocks running. Like you can't be, because you mentioned it. It felt like a coach would be, or a parent or somebody would be hotboxing Brent, and then you could tell they were always like, oh, he's giving me a lot of time. He's here with me.
There
for
was
10
no
minutes.
clock on
Exactly.
Brent. Brent wasn't like, hey, I got to get out. It was JR running and grabbing, saying, hey, coach, we got to get over here.
Yeah, we got to go see this guy from Florida that came in to work out for an hour and a half, whatever it may be.
Or we just got CJ Dixon just got here. He's not going to work out, but we got to go talk to him.
100%. So you always had that element kind of going on. And so it'll be interesting to see, who kind of does that. I mean, is that something
who was the girl that they hired from the Chargers to kind of take over recruiting stuff? What's
Jolie?
Jolie?
Is it? It's not Olo, is it? But it's
something like that. It's something like that.
Like
I wonder if we'll see a lot of her out there tomorrow.
Yep. And so what I'm really interested in, you mentioned the new staff. I want to see. I want to see Zach Alley. I've never, you guys have had some opportunities to at least, I know George. I know he hasn't talked to anybody. I know. But you've at least seen him work.
You're gonna write a story about him this week.
But I've never seen the guy work, and I know with all the comparisons to Brent, Carrie. You were around in those days. Like I want to see, like, is that Brent?
Is it a mini Brent?
Exactly. So I'm kind of interested in that, and
we just had Jake and Tyler on the family business. I need to get that out before we're out there tomorrow, just to see if Brent's caught wind of some of the stuff that was said. His own kids basically blamed him for their own poor genetics.
Oh, wow. Holy, okay, wow.
Nobody is out, so that's an out. She beat it.
She just beat it. That girl might have the prettiest swing I've ever seen in softball.
Ella Parker.
Ella Parker's swing.
It reminds me a little bit. Aloe was a little bit different, Jocelyn Aloe, but her swing is amazing. When she gets a hold of it, there's no doubters.
It's a baseball swing. It is a baseball slugger swing.
That's pretty. They just showed the replay of it.
Yeah.
Natural lefty.
Another person who might be out there that I'm interested in seeing, maybe chatting with, just introducing myself, Chuck Lilly. the new assistant GM. I know he's really involved
From
in
K-State.
Yeah, and Clemson. He was obviously at Clemson with Brent. That's the connection. But I think he's pretty involved in transfer portal and evaluating guys there, but also recruits. So I'm
and you
interested to see him.
mentioned transfer portal and like NIL, general managers, associates, whatever. Like, how big of a role is Curtis Lofton? Is he out there just talking to parents?
I remember Curtis was out there quite a bit last year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he was. Yeah,
and I'm interested to see because his role has kind of pivoted. You know, like it's not the sole mission and kind of being the host and doing that kind of stuff.
He might be like
more,
preparing for that post-practice meetup with players. So we might not see him out there. That would be my guess, is that he's in his office, getting ready to put on a big presentation for the big guys that come in.
Because especially in the morning, and again, I feel like we always kind of have to go over this, but in the morning, after that morning session that I talked about earlier, what they'll usually do is gather the guys that not just necessarily offers or commitments, but guys they have legitimate interest in, and they'll take them on a tour and they show them the facilities. And during that, the guys who maybe are going to pick up an offer, they end up in Brent Venables' office, and you kind of see that stuff come together. So it's very orchestrated. And I think that is something from 2022 and then to last year. I thought Oklahoma really kind of found their stride. They kind of figured out how they wanted to do that. I thought 2022, and largely understandably, was just a little chaotic at times. And this, I feel like, I expect tomorrow to be, another improvement on 2023, where I thought really they started to have a clear plan and kind of this is how we're going to do these type of visits.
It's crazy because, we've never really talked about recruiting camps like this before. I would even call it a fresh perspective on the way recruiting camps and summer camps are run. And it is the Enjoy Fresh Perspective look ahead. We're going to look at some of the prospects that Josh is going to be watching for over the next couple of camp sessions on Thursday and Saturday. But no one will be watching with better vision than our Eddie Radosevich, who is not only a spokesperson, but also a client for Enjoy.
Enjoy Vision is the best laser vision center in Oklahoma City. It's not even close. The combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care was life-changing for me. What they're doing for the Unofficial 40 listener, they're giving $400 off of LASIK. All you got to do is go to enjoywithme.com. That is the letter N-J-O-Y withme.com, and use promo code U40. Enjoy Vision. This is where you LASIK.
Thank you to Enjoy Vision, and go check that out. Great offer from our great sponsors at Enjoy. Boy, no one's gotten more screen time than Shay Knighton in this.
Yeah, she's been all over.
World College. Did we ever figure out if she's with San Diego? Was that?
Yeah, she's an assistant out there.
So she is coaching, taking some time.
Well, their season's probably done.
Yeah, she's on vacation just like everybody else. But yeah, it is still 2-0. The Sooners have got their first out. I guess, are we going to get attacked by the NCAA for what is that thing they say? This broadcast cannot be reproduced or transmitted.
We'll just talk our way through it.
I guess if you have a media credential, I think people wonder well, how do you tweet about it? Well, I guess if you get a credential, you're immune from.
I think
that.
it's just like the video.
Yeah, it's just video.
We know we can't play that and make any money off it anyway. Yeah, we get struck with copyright just for the post-game press conferences right now. It's a very strange time. Okay, so let's talk about names and guys who's number one on your list that you want to see. And it doesn't have to be because he's the biggest name, but maybe a guy that you haven't seen enough of, or you've only seen on film, or you want to see how he's progressed since you've seen him a year ago.
I think for me, the easy answer is Darian Coleman, the quarterback from Florida.
Now, is he the guy that said OU was his dream school?
Yeah.
Okay.
He is. And I am in an interesting situation right now where I put out Woke today and put in a new quarterback prediction, which we can get into. That's kind of, there's a player that's been very buzzy over the last 24 hours with Oklahoma. He's in the same class as Darian Coleman. They're both going to camp over the next week. He'll be here, obviously not this Thursday, but next Thursday. So there is a lot going on. But with Coleman, Oklahoma likes him. This is an ultra-athletic guy. Really, you can do all the run game stuff you want to do. Darian Coleman is your guy. Now, I don't want that. People misunderstand that a lot and assume, he can't throw. He's a talented passer. He works with a quarterback trainer that I know some major college programs. really respect. Like, they think the guy does a really good job developing quarterbacks, working with them. So, I think there is more to him than just being a runner. But he's also, I haven't ever seen him in person, but I've been told he's about 5'10 and a half, 5'11", 170, 175. He's a smaller guy. Is he so athletic that he, is he the Kyler Murray that he can overcome that because he's just so freaking gifted? Or is that going to be a hang-up? We'll have to see. Like I said, I haven't seen him throw live, and so I'm really interested to see him tomorrow. There's several other guys. Felix Ojo, the big offensive tackle from Mansfield, he's like 6'7", 250, 260. He's one of those guys that Bill didn't really used to recruit. He always went after the Orlando Browns, just the monsters. And he's kind of pivoted a little more to being willing to take these Logan Howland type players that are going to have to put on 30, 40 pounds once they get to college. So there's just there's a lot of potential with him. He's very, very gifted. And I guess as a random shout out here, Zane Rowe will be there, the lone 2027 commitment. Getting to watch him go against the Katoa kid I mentioned earlier, go against Ojo. That'll be a lot of fun. Interesting story. You don't see this very often. Stillwater has two guys here that are going to be Division I players, and they'll be camping tomorrow. Nehemiah Cologne, he's got an OSU offer. He's got Arizona. He's a 2026 defensive lineman. I saw him at the Santa Fe camp last week. Really liked what I saw. And the other is Deacon Jones, who's a 2027 wide receiver that really had a nice freshman year for Stillwater last year. And is, again, that the growth that program has gone through over the last 10 years, just unbelievable. And these guys are kind of more indication that they've just got more guys coming.
What do you make of everything at quarterback now? Because obviously talking about Darion Coleman, it sounds like Chad Simmons put out a story this morning. We have it up on the front page on Soonerscoop.com. Jaden O'Neal, number 78 player overall in the country. That sounds like maybe, is that a better option, or is that a guy that Oklahoma would favor more?
He's been the guy since I went over tape. You guys know when new offers go out every so often, I put out a story and I kind of go through the tape of all the new offers and that kind of stuff. I love him on tape. I think he's really, really good. I can't lie, there's a small part of me that just loves the storyline of Oklahoma going to Southern California to find its next quarterback. I think there's just something kind of comical about that. But this is, and you mentioned both Chad Simmons and Steve Wiltfong, our two lead national recruiting reporters, put in predictions for him to Oklahoma today. I talked to Chad for a while this morning. He's not without cause. Like there's a reason to think that Oklahoma's in really good shape there.
How would that play with Darion Coleman, who is very open about his affinity for Oklahoma?
Yes, and when Coleman made his visit in the spring, I talked to him, and as Kerry alluded to, he's been very open, dream school, all that stuff. He said all the right things. I think there was always a feeling of Oklahoma wanted to watch him work out, go through their stuff, go through their drills, work with receivers they had a good grasp of and that kind of stuff. So I think tomorrow's huge for Darion Coleman. I think you'll know a lot coming out of that. But for me, somebody literally asked me on the board today, kind of coming out of that story, what is your hierarchy? And I love Jaden O'Neal. I think there's it's not fair, and I'm not really comparing the players, but people forget that when Jackson Arnold was offered, he was like a top 130 player in the country. He hadn't picked up all that notoriety. Not everybody knew who he was yet. There wasn't
Elite 11 hadn't happened yet.
Exactly. There wasn't all that going on for him yet. That's about where Jaden O'Neal is now. I'm not saying he's going to go be that guy, but I think people kind of look at his ranking. I think right now On3 has him at like 130, and the industry ranking's got him in like the 70s, if I'm not mistaken. And I think people kind of like, oh, that's not that special. He's pretty good. Like his tape, he throws some of the best deep balls you'll see in the country. Really good athlete. There's a lot of and I was talking to a source about this today. He matches up really well with some of the guys that you saw Seth Luttrell work with at North Carolina. Some of those bigger kind of mobile quarterbacks that were pass first guys, but could absolutely run and create with their feet.
this might be a dumb question, but looking ahead into the future here, just thinking out loud, Jackson Arnold could leave after, what would that be, 2025 season. Michael Hawkins, Brendan Zerberg, I would guess one of them is not on the team anymore. Mm-hmm. You'll have Kevin Sperry in. Would they consider taking 2 guys in that class? And maybe that's a question it's definitely a better question to ask you in a year from now. But could they take 2 guys?
Is Sperry coming to camp?
He should. I'd be shocked.
I mean,
if he
you would
didn't.
think with his dad and the closeness that they kind of want with their coach that he'd want to come and spend as much time with Seth Luttrell as
Absolutely. I think that's a big part of it is just spending more time with
Sorry,
Seth
George. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
and building that kind of that relationship. But yeah, with George's question, guys in this era, take all the quarterbacks that you think can play for you. Like they're gonna leave. Like we all know it.
And I think the other question too to this, the second part question is like, would Coleman and O'Neal want to go and a place that has 2? Like Zerberg and Hawkins were like, that's fine, but would those 2 guys be open to that? Because not everyone is.
Because Zerberg is picking Oklahoma over Syracuse and Northwestern, and so it's a very different level of play we're talking about. Coleman and O'Neal, it's a different situation. I would be surprised if they wanted to go down that road, but to me, that's like what we talk about with the NFL draft. I'm going to keep drafting quarterbacks until I know I've got my guy. And that's the way I feel about it in recruiting too. If we can take 2, and I think 2 are good enough to play for me, let it play out. And then whoever doesn't win, hey man, best of luck. We'll write you we'll give you the best reviews we can give you wherever you want to transfer to.
I think as much as things change with NIL, I think that quarterback thing is still going to stay the same though, where guys are like, I'm going to find my slot, and I'm going to go, and if somebody else is taking a slot, I'm not going to do it. I think your only chance is to do like a Zerberg. I mean, you can even say Sam Bradford made the same type of decision. Yep. I mean, came in, right on the heels of Bomar, and, everybody expect, he's just going to come because he's an OU legacy, and it looks like a home run by Texas. It is. And it ended up working out well for OU. I mean, I think that's your only real chance of success of keeping a quarterback room that doesn't fall apart every year.
Yeah, I mean...
But, who knows? Maybe kids will change. Maybe, who knows? If what's his name from Georgia had not decommitted, would Caleb Williams still have come?
Yeah.
As his father
he was going to walk on at OU.
Yeah. Oh, God. That legend, there are still people pushing that storyline. That still comes up as that was going to happen. No, it wasn't. It was never going to happen. There's a reason he was not seriously looking at Oklahoma at that point in time. Anyway,
that girl has bigger thighs than most running backs.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Pause.
Yep, I'm not okay.
I'm not talking about her hips, Josh.
I can talk about hips. That's a different thing. That's okay.
I'm saying she's impressive.
This strike zone is definitely different it's definitely bigger than it was the last couple days.
That whole Florida thing, those were wild.
Yeah.
But
Mia Scott,
I thought they were consistent. Except for the one that really went for Oklahoma.
Oh, yeah.
Woo! I'd have been hot if I was Florida on that one. But anyway, yeah, you're right, Kerry. And to me, I think that's what you do. In a class where you want to take 2, you get the guy you really want to get. And then if you can find kind of a project guy.
Let's go down Northwestern's commitment list. Let's go down. Let's go down.
That's what I was going to say.
Miami
Is like
Ohio's
maybe it's not Coleman and O'Neal, but maybe you get one of those 2,
Sure.
and then towards the end you pick someone else up.
Yep. And it could be a situation like, we like the quarterback. For example, if it was this year, we like the quarterback committed to Arkansas. Well, let's see what happens with Sam Pittman, and then we can pounce on that if we want to later. And kind of keep that relationship, we're sending him mail, we're inviting him to games, that kind of stuff. So I think you can have a plan for that. But, 2 high-profile guys, that's probably pretty unlikely.
All right. Any guys that are, kind of under the radar coming into this camp that, I know, we just had the recruiting report. You talked about being at the Bixby team camp and some of the young guys, but any kind of under the radar guys that you think could end up really jumping off the page in the next couple of sessions?
Yeah, and I do want to say, we've talked a lot about Darian Coleman. Jonas Williams was expected to be here. He had told me as of about a month ago he was going to be there.
You're not saying Jonah Williams.
No, Jonas. 20. You're right. It's a good point. 2026 quarterback from Illinois. and he told me he was going to be there. He visited it back in the spring, and I have not been able to confirm with him whether he is coming. I've hit him up the last few days and just have not heard back. So generally, that's not a great sign. Usually, that tells me that plans have changed. And with all that we're hearing about Coleman and O'Neal, frankly, it kind of makes sense. So we'll see. But don't be shocked if he's there. But I would say I'm probably leaning to we're not going to see him tomorrow.
Okay, let me add on to this question. Any in-state kids that you like that you think could end up with an offer coming to camp?
They've been so active in offering guys.
Yeah, they really
already.
have. You're right.
Yeah, for
and maybe it's a 2026
session,
or something that they haven't.
For tomorrow's session, no. Because like I said, the two I mentioned, I like the Cologne kid. Like I could see him being I think he probably grows into like a 3 tech. He's listed as an edge on 3 right now. But I think he's about 6'3" and 250, kind of a poly kid. You just see him getting bigger. And then I mentioned Deacon Jones, who's a really talented guy, receiver, kind of DB for Stillwater. But as far as in-state guys, I said it on the recruiting report. If Caden Penny's not the next offer, the big old lineman from Bixby, the 2027 kid, I'll be real surprised. I think he's very good. I think he impressed Oklahoma when they went up to Bixby and saw him this spring. And, I say it over and over again, but...
What number was that kid on the tape?
61.
Okay.
Yep. He was playing left tackle for him. And the funny thing is I saw him, and I thought, oh, that kid's pretty good. Because I knew they had a young lineman, but I had defensive line in my head. That's kind of what I'd been told. And I keep watching him move around, and I'm like, man, that's a TU guy. Like, that's that kid's probably a senior. He's so, his feet are so good. And then I asked one of the players that was injured, I go, who is 61 there? And he goes, he's in my class. And I said, well, what class are you? And he goes, I'm going to be a sophomore. And I was like, oh. He goes, yeah, his name's Caden Penny. I'm like, okay, that's who I came to see. And, I mean.
So he's a 27 kid?
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like 6'3", 260. Like I said, he's got relatives that played in the NFL at corner. You remember Chris Harris that played at, Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
He was on Mangino.
Like
that
4 or
team.
5 different teams.
Absolutely. And then played in the,
just retired, I think, this past January?
Yes.
Is he's a Bronco eventual Hall of Famer, right?
Well, I don't know.
He won't be a Hall of Famer. He might be a Ring of Fame guy for the Broncos.
That's what I meant, like a Hall of Fame for the Broncos.
Because he was a part of that Super Bowl team and was really good for several years. So.
I mean, he was on the 2010s All-Decade team. I don't think Hall of Fame is out of the question. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's not crazy. He's a 3-time All-Pro, 1-time first team. So I mean, he's and again, he's one of my favorite stories of you got to check with everybody, because when I went to Bixby when he was in high school, he was the afterthought. He was not the guy. Yeah. And I went up there with a coaching buddy of mine that knew, had really gone over the tape, and I had seen it, but I mean, this wasn't just a recruiting reporter thought one guy was better. There was no question who they were identifying, and it was Jared Glover, his teammate, who was a really talented guy in his own right. I'm not trying to shoot him down at all.
I remember that kid, yeah.
And Chris Harris was kind of the other guy. And Chris always had just a thing, just kind of like a chip on his shoulder. You knew he wanted to prove you wrong, and,
And he could do it.
And he really did. I mean, guy had an unbelievable career.
What's this camp session next to going to be for Bill Biedenbow?
This is going to be one of his highlight groups. I think both Thursday and Saturday are really going to be pretty O-line heavy. We saw it last year, guys. I think I was trying to tally it up. I think they made 8 new offers at camp last summer. So
didn't we? Who was the? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Mm-hmm. The center, wasn't he? Or guard, big kid, mean looking kid. He's now a commit. I'm blanking on his name.
Owen?
Owen Beck.
Yes. He was there last year, but he had already been offered, I think, or was he offered at the camp maybe? But I remember watching him at camp last year.
I want to say he was offered after camp.
Maybe that's what it was. But
yeah. No, and again, Owen is.
You cannot. When you see his face, you're like, that is a mean looking bastard.
Yeah.
What's your best camp offered story?
My best camp offer.
I have a name in my mind, but I'll save it.
I know my best, like,
not like the
commitment.
best performance, but just like the best story of a guy that went to camp that wasn't expecting it, maybe, that ended up with an offer.
Andy Bass was pretty good last year.
Yeah, that's a good one. That was fun just because of, it ended up, like I said, I mean, and I'm gonna buffer for time here for a second, but with Andy Bass, I just remember walking in last year, and I see the kid, but he's, I don't think maybe he had Hall shorts on, but he wasn't all hauled out. And I walk up to Eddie, I'm like, who the hell is that kid? And he was like, that's Andy Bass. I was like, good Lord. I mean, like,
yeah,
he looks like $1 million, man.
And then he just dominated.
Oh yeah, he just kicked ass. I would say,
I mean, there's some like Julian Wilson that camped every camp he possibly could that ended up getting an offer.
That one comes to mind.
DJ Graham.
DJ Graham. Yeah,
That was like a Thursday night. That was
Uh-huh.
when they were doing the elite camps or whatever.
Yep.
Did he end up at Utah State?
I think that's right.
Is that right?
That sounds right.
Yeah. That was. I mean, again, this tells you how different it used to be, guys. I'm making 3 separate trips up here for camp. We had gotten to the point where I didn't even need to come up anymore because there were, maybe 5 guys in the total camp that might get an offer. There might be 5 offensive linemen offered tomorrow. Like, I mean, that's how different this is now.
What was it? What's so weird about the Dylan Dismuke offer?
I think largely because a lot of people, I know there were people in Duncan that were like, huh? Really? Like, there was a genuine surprise. Like, and God, I may start a real ugly thing at a Thanksgiving dinner here, but I remember like talking to his dad, and his dad never said this. And he was a very nice man.
Yeah.
I don't want to misinterpret it
That's
at all.
with the Duncan people.
Exactly. You Duncan people, you're all crazy. But I remember feeling like, is he surprised? Like, is he like, because like every dad thinks, oh yeah, they're gonna offer my kid.
Yeah.
Like, I remember him being like, wow, Dylan's that good. Like it was kind of that vibe to it. And so
I feel
that
like
was,
Baker Mayfield's mom saying, I won't believe it if he gets picked first.
Yes. It was very much that way. But yeah, Dylan was a good one. I think you may have hit it on the head with Julian Carey, just because he worked so hard for that offer. He wanted it so bad.
I've never seen anybody work that hard.
He was, because if I remember right, he did the first session. I think he went back and forth between wide receiver and corner. They were juggling him a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the camp, he just kept coming back day over day. And he will tell you to this day that I had a kid ranked over him out of Edmond North that went to Missouri and did not have Julian's career. And I have heard that not only from him, but from OU fans. So that is something I don't get to forget.
Was there ever a guy that came to camp and you thought for sure he was going to get an offer and it just didn't happen?
Oh, I mean, sure. God, I'm so bad at these kind of things. Like I'll be listening to this later. I'm like,
memory,
there was 3,
Eddie.
4 guys. Oh, I'm so bad at this kind of stuff. Like I'm always like, Bob will ask me crap like this on the pod, and I'm like, yeah. And if I had like a second to think about it, I would. I'd have a good
he'd
name
make
for
fun
you.
of you for not getting the right name.
Oh yeah, he wasn't actually from the southern part of Chicago, Josh. It's always something along those lines. But trying to think of someone that really sticks out as that kind of guy. It would probably be trying to think of some of the quarterbacks that used to come. That's a good one. Eddie, do you remember the guy?
The Waco kid?
No, it was
Koresh's son?
No, it was the kid. Remember, we saw him working out. Not Casey Paha. What was his freaking name? He ended up at, I think, at
Outside
Indiana.
over at the rugby field?
Yes.
And played in the NFL. Started Clayton Tune.
Yes. It was Clayton Tune. And I remember.
Ended up at Kansas?
Yeah.
Or no, he went to he was a couple transfer portal.
Yeah.
I want to say he went to Kansas, but he played at Houston.
He ended up,
that's where he
really
like
found,
basically came out
under Dana. Yeah.
And he started for Kyler this past year.
Really?
When
Now, that I
Kyler was
didn't
hurt.
know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember we were watching him, and he could really sling it.
His brother brought him up or something, I remember.
And that was one of the guys, he goes so far back. Was he the guy that Heupel walked over to us and was like, don't put any of this out here?
See, now I was kind of thinking that it was Riley. Was it Heupel?
It wasn't Lincoln.
So it would have been Heupel.
Yeah.
Could have been anybody else.
Yeah.
No, that would make sense though, because that probably would have been about the summer before Josh got fired.
Yep. And I don't mean that to sound shitty. Like Josh was super nice about it. He was like,
"Oh yeah,
hey, we're working this guy out. We don't want everybody to know yet." Like I think they kind of had the guy they knew they wanted.
Because he probably would have been like a 2016-ish guy. Played 6 years in college.
Yeah,
that would make sense.
And he was probably working out as like a sophomore, so that'd have been the summer of what, 13?
Oh yeah, he would have been like 2018 then.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
because he probably played 5 years of college.
Yeah.
And last year was his rookie.
Yeah,
second
I want
year.
to say he was one of those 6-year guys, if I'm not mistaken. So he was around for a while, but
that makes sense.
Holy cow. Okay. So sorry, I guess.
No, we're still 2-1. It's top of the second, or is it bottom of the second? Top of the second.
Top of the second.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like offensive linemen or defensive linemen that came through that were never offered. I mean, there's a couple guys that probably felt like they should have
Jalen
been.
Barnett not get an offer when he came through? Or did he already have it?
He already
had it.
I think we were just disappointed with it.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like almost from the
I think that
minute
was
they
that
offered
Bronson
him, he
Irwin's
just kind
year?
of tailed. Let's see, Bronson.
Now,
would have
he
been
was one of the
20
guys that
I think
came
Jalen,
in
I think
and earned
Jalen
an
would have been a
offer.
little bit older.
Uh-huh.
Or, I mean, younger.
Yeah.
than
Yeah,
Bronson.
that seems right. Like I want
No,
to say
Bronson was a guy, like, I remember his camps, like, he was as impressive as any offensive lineman.
he
in
was
camp.
always really good. I remember when I really thought, okay, maybe this guy's an OU guy, was back when they had the Schumann camp down here a couple years in a row,
yeah,
and then like the big national. And that was the same year that Colt Lyerla, the guy that ended up just being a total deadbeat at Oregon, he was there, and you were like, this dude's a mutant. Like Colt Lyerla,
Eddie should do a
have been
podcast with him.
Oh God,
Colt Lyerla?
yeah,
I think
just
he's in prison.
that
might
would be
be.
my
I think they have
that's-
internet
Wasn't he
prison.
like smoking meth with his mom and stuff?
He-
like had a
It was
really rough
cocaine and
upbringing.
Oh
stuff,
yeah.
yeah.
Like it's definitely a guy. Not like, well, oh, he just screwed up his opportunity. He I think he grew up kind of hard.
Yeah.
So
What was the kid's name from Jinx? Defensive lineman, I want to say, that we thought might get an offer way back.
Tony Gillespie, Ashton Henderson.
It might have been It was Ashton Henderson.
Yep.
That's exactly who it was.
Yeah, that it's funny. Jinx has these guys like that where it's like sophomores. You're like, oh, no doubt, and then as they get a little older, they just don't ever go beyond.
never grow.
That. Yeah.
In a way.
Tony Gillespie,
Great
as a
high school
sophomore,
football
was
players.
one of the best high school sophomore defensive linemen you'll ever see, and then he just kind of never went past that point.
Yeah.
But I mean, he started for 2 or 3 years at Louisville. I mean, he was a good player. It wasn't like that. He just was never quite the guy you kind of projected him to be.
What's the story about...
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Bergen Kaiser might have earned his preferred walk-on offer through camp last year.
100%. He absolutely did. And I can say this, someone who I have a loose affiliation to Bergen, and you know some of the people involved, Eddie. You don't know that you do, but there is some serious Oklahoma State in some parts of his family.
Okay,
And
that puts it together a little bit.
It was always funny to me. I was like, oh God.
I mean, he turned down a Division I offer.
Oh yeah,
to come walk on.
Oh, and like I said, I told you guys the other day, I saw him at the Santa Fe team camp, and now I had to bag on him. He's, I guess you go D1 and you start wearing those big, I don't know what you even call them, like the bucket hats.
Yeah.
And it just looked awful, and I had to tell him it looked awful, and then I was thankful he's a really nice kid and didn't just throw me over the stadium, but.
What was the story about Justin Manning ending up like at your house or something once, Eddie, after a camp?
I can't remember who brought him up.
David Robinson.
It was David Robinson.
back in
Yeah.
the day, yep.
They came up and camped, and then they came over to my house, and we did like interviews in my backyard with them.
Yep.
Because that was when Oklahoma was like very heavily involved. It was basically to get Justin Manning over there.
Yes.
And we interviewed everybody else that was there.
And I was like, and your name is? Like, that was a very...
I went to
I didn't know half the kids.
I went to his commitment ceremony.
Yep. Yes, you did. Who
He ended up going to A&M.
was that?
I got a
Alex?
speeding ticket on the way back.
Yeah, that was a... you've really taken some hits. The Waraboko.
Yeah.
That one. I mean, you've been there at some really low moments.
But at the same time, I think
soul-crushing
like
commitments.
I arrived to the Justin Manning one. It was like, I think he's probably going to A&M.
Yeah.
The Waraboko one, it was like a flat out. That was probably only
Didn't
one
the
that
student
I've
body
been
basically
surprised.
almost turn on him?
Yeah, they like booed him basically.
Which
I remember
probably
I was
should've
at
told us
Westmore.
I mean, it wasn't like an all out like boo, but it was a disgruntled like, oh, all right.
I want to say I was at Westmore when that was going down for what was the wide receiver, the big
Dahu Green.
Dahu Green's announcement. And I just remembered. I remembered
That
I
went OU's
called
way,
you, and I didn't know what happened yet. I was like, "What happened?" And you explained to me the scene and how everybody was like mad, and you wanted to get out of there because you were afraid.
Yeah, it was just awkward. I mean, I wasn't afraid.
Well, I mean, just
Cassidy,
kind of
they're
like,
not.
yeah,
they're not
it's
too
like,
scary.
I'm afraid for what might happen here. Basically, I don't want
It
to
was
be in
just
the middle
awkward.
of this.
It was hella awkward.
Yeah, that was a weird. And then the whole deal with Max and all the offers that he had, and they immediately went away.
Nothing beats the
Imagine
Jason
that.
Sukamel story, though, of going all the way to Colorado for that one running back's commitment and then getting locked out of the ESPN zone.
Darrell Scott. Yep,
Yeah.
That's a wild one. Oh God, yeah. I don't know how he did, because I you guys know me. I'm very low key, but stuff like that, I get mad fast. Like I'm like, this is.
I don't even know how you
The
could
Anthony
get someone
Evans
to
thing.
lock an ESPN zone.
Yes. Is this even legal? Like this feels like a fire hazard.
Fire violation, fire code violation. So
ESPN zones are no more, right?
no, they not.
Like
I
they're
think
completely gone.
last one I was at the New York Hotel in Vegas.
I think I went to that one.
Yeah,
I've been to that one.
I've done. I had to do a radio show from there one time.
I've been exceedingly drunk in that one, if I'm not mistaken.
They were cool while they lasted. I think sports bars kind of killed them.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Anything else camp wise that you wanted to get to? First off, what time is everything starting tomorrow? And then what time? We've got some stuff going on. We're gonna try and do a live stream tomorrow evening at 5:00.
You basically, whatever time Josh says, you add like 45 minutes
Yes.
on the front end and the back end because
Yes.
these camps never begin on time.
And we
Never.
do think
especially
that
the first session, it's always the worst.
we do think that Brent Venables is going to be able to limit his speeches to the recruits this year.
I thought he did.
Wouldn't
much
bet
better.
on it.
George from the top rope.
You know, George, I've heard Zach Ellie's going to be a keynote speaker.
Ooh.
We'll never hear from him. I guarantee it.
No, but the camp itself will get started at let's see, I had
think
just had
it's
it pulled up 9:30.
Yeah.
Yep. And so again,
Which means 10, 15
yes,
at the earliest.
like they'll really be rolling by about 10:15. So because they like when you walk in, if there's any parents out there listening that've never been and they're going to it tomorrow or whatever. You walk into the indoor and it's just bodies everywhere. It's people. It's chaos.
the parents don't know what they're supposed to be doing
No.
or where they're going or what field their
100%.
kid is going to be on, so they're
Yeah.
all panicky.
It's
Yeah.
also us trying to figure out who's who, the kids, because
Yes.
there's no names, and so we're like going up, like, "Hey, where are you from? What's your name?"
It's always great when they finally split into groups, though, and you realize, oh, there's not a single kid worth a damn in this group.
Yeah,
This
you,
is
you
a-
can usually single out who's
yeah.
like. The
This
guy.
is not where I need to be.
The only and that's one of the reasons you love O-line, D-line, because almost immediately you can tell like that guy might be real, that guy's not real. You know, like you don't have to worry
Okay,
about
that guy's working with Ethan Downs.
Yes.
He's not. Nobody's wanting to look at him.
DB, there's 27 6 foot,
not a shot at Ethan
175
Downs.
pound guys, and you're like, well, okay, I gotta sit here and actually watch them go through work. Their foot drills, footwork. There we go. That's better. But yeah, so you have to be a little bit more discerning. But there is
Be interesting to see if any of the quote unquote star players are out there coaching. Like it's always been interesting because like Woody Washington really takes a big role in coaching kids in the summer. Like you can see like an Andrell Anthony out there, maybe.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna see.
I guarantee you, Deion Burks is
I
out there.
think so.
Oh,
That-
that would
that
be.
feels like big
Oh, I
Deion
would
Burks
sit there just to
energy.
watch him.
Yep. Guys, I'll be sad that LV Bunkley Shelton went there. He's always
Yeah.
a lot
Oh, yeah,
of
he was
fun.
always
He was
coaching.
great
He,
to
and he
watch.
was always talking to us,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
What was his
I'm sure
brother
Deion-
was like at camps, and he was like
yeah.
coaching
King.
him.
I think
hard.
Burks will be the same way. He'll be chatting it up. And Arnold was out there a lot last year working with the quarterbacks. I don't remember seeing Gabriel out there a ton, but
No.
Arnold was.
I think he was out of town.
Yeah.
I think
I
Dylan was out of town.
yeah.
I
think
remember
that was the week he was back in Hawaii. or
2
something.
years ago, I remember him being out there, and he was working with Jackson. Like I remember,
Yeah,
them
and
being
I remember
around.
Jackson working with Sperry last year. A lot.
Yeah. So just kind of handing it down. But
I mean, I could imagine going out there and seeing David Stone out there coaching people.
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah,
David Stone will be out there for sure.
Yes. I think there are so many misconceptions about David because he was a 5-star and he went to IMG and all this stuff. Like, I think people have very much the wrong idea about him and who he is.
All right. George, was there anything I missed team-wise? I know Bob talked to Porter Moser, had a write-up on that today with the whole facilities thing. I'm
much. I'm still writing some stuff from the spring meetings, just kind of holding on to it so we can kind of spread it out a bit. But I think we covered just about everything Brent talked about last week, as well as obviously Josie. I don't know if we talked about tailgating. I know we did the YouTube show.
Yeah.
A little bit about tailgating, but they're thinking about opening up the duck pond, not
in
this
another
coming
year.
season, but in the future. But this coming season, they are opening up the lawn across the street from Louis and the porch right there in front of Jacobson
Just
Hall,
a
which
short
I actually
walk
think is a
down
pretty
from
good.
us.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good spot. So that'd be kind of cool.
A lot of stuff going on. Construction is over, thank God, at the Sooner Scoop studio. So,
Do we want to talk any baseball? I know it was a disappointing
yeah, we
end,
can.
but
Yeah, I'm fine.
I think it was a great season.
Yeah, exceptional season. Disappointing ending for sure, but
just amazing pitching performances to get them as far as they got to.
yeah, the Sunday out there was unbelievable what Braden Davis and Grant Stevens were able to do, given 7 innings. I mean, I think going into that first elimination game on Sunday afternoon against Duke, I think the general thought was, well, if Grant Stevens can give you 4 innings, what a phenomenal day that's going to be. What a job that would be to keep guys out of there, to save them for what was to come on Sunday night and Monday. And he ended up giving 7. The career
I told
performance.
you, it was like David Wells showed up in his body.
Yeah, he's a psycho. And then Braden Davis, couldn't remember his name for a minute. Jet Lotus was awesome.
old now.
Yeah.
I mean, just absolutely incredible on Sunday night to get Oklahoma into the if game on Monday. And it's really cool, too, that he's a UConn kid that basically pitched his balls off in his last appearance in Norman. Thought that was pretty cool. And then Monday night was just kind of a disaster. They got their ass kicked. And UConn definitely was the better team throughout the weekend in Norman. They were
Great defensive
incredible.
team.
Absolutely incredible.
I-
Caught everything.
I do want to say, because I don't want to get too much into the game, but I went to the game on
The final game.
The final game on Monday, and the crowd was
Yeah, it was awesome.
phenomenal.
It was awesome. It was awesome all weekend.
I know that they can't get that every single weekend, but there's been a lot of talk about the baseball program and it specifically being, quote unquote SEC ready. I think Skip Johnson has done a damn good job, one, recruiting and building the culture there, and then to be able to get the turnout, and not just Monday night, but really it seemed like the whole weekend, Eddie. I mean,
Yeah,
it feels
was-
like they're ready.
It was phenomenal. I don't know, like, going into next season, if they could ever figure out a way to keep those tents and stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought it created an atmosphere that, I don't know, I tried to explain it on the radio, but it's enclosed almost. It just felt like it was very on top of you, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. Everybody that went into putting that thing together, it was really,
It sounds
really
like
good.
too, Eddie, that they're really close to getting the funding. For
Yeah,
the
I
renovations. I think it's almost there.
It is, and I think that there is some stuff that they want to try to be able to put in, starting almost immediately, to where it would be noticeable next year for the first year in the SEC. I don't think that the inside stuff, actual inside the park, as far as adding seats and that type of stuff that they want to do, I don't think that that's quite there yet.
Was the berm stuff successful?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
yeah.
about. The tent stuff, I thought it was awesome.
packed out there on Monday.
It was awesome. People coming out there all day. You could charge people, I don't know what the number would be, but $50 on the weekend to come watch LSU or
Yep.
whoever's coming to town. I think it would be really, really cool if they could kind of pull that off. There's some good momentum, and they're recruiting extremely well. It's going to be really interesting to see how they kind of retool everything, because they are losing a lot of guys off this year's team.
When's the portal open for baseball? I'm guessing
open.
it's open.
Yeah,
So
it's open.
Do you think they'll be pretty active in that? Yeah.
They'll be very active in the portal.
Well, I think it was just good to see, too, because I know there's been some discourse and, Joe C. coming out and telling people, you can't fund stadiums through Twitter. You need to donate money. And then
pretty funny.
It was really funny. He turned into Joe Jr. there for a second. And
I think a lot of that was taken out of context too. Like I know that rubbed a lot of people wrong, and I don't think that was necessarily intended for that. I think that was more of Josie saying like, "We need money."
Well, I think to me, I read it as, I appreciate your passion, but yelling and complaining about things doesn't help us put more money in the coffers to build a stadium.
Right.
And I think the fact that he put his money where his mouth was, and, so to speak, I mean, went out there, took pizzas to the fans, took beer to the fans. He was delivering something else like desserts
I think
or
he
something?
took out like ice cream or something on Sunday night.
Look, I think it goes both. That whole thing goes both ways. Like the fans obviously don't understand that there's different avenues to get this money, and you can't just bitching and complaining is not going to get you anywhere.
And some
at
of it
the same time, Joe C. The athletic department also probably could have done a better job of.
It's like the basketball conversation we've had before, where they let it go for a long time, but now they're, I think, earnestly trying to make momentum or create momentum to get these new facilities.
And look, I think I saw what kind of irked Joe, which was, I saw one fan that was like, "Oh, so we're donating to Crimson and Cream, and we're paying to get the players here, and now we also have to pay for the stadiums." It's yes, you have to do all of that.
Well, and what the problem is that people saw what happened with Love's Field, and they're just like, "Oh, well, they did it for softball. They invested in softball." It's like, no, they did invest in softball, but the Love's family just came along and said, "Here, we'll pay for it."
They gave a foundational gift,
right? And that doesn't happen for every sport,
right?
And it's also a different project size, like
right?
You're talking about the basketball. It's a very different thing.
And I will also say this goes back to the whole football facilities thing, and me asking Josie last week about kind of putting that on the back burner. They're putting a lot of this stuff on the back burner because they don't know exactly how much they're going to have to pay these players,
or they don't
employees.
know how much faculty they're going to have to hire to execute NIL stuff if it's all internal and the university's in control of it.
So they're kind of in this wait and see period to try and get these projects done because they just don't know where the money's coming from.
And it gets so far as, they may have to build new types of colleges on the university. I mean, they may have to build something that's not, journalism and something that's not business, but is a combination. It's like there's so many open-ended questions about where the future is taking everyone. So you can't just say, okay, we're going to build $1 billion basketball facility now, or we're going to dump $60 million into a baseball stadium. I mean, it's hard to get even if someone will commit to that, the university is being responsible and saying, I don't know if that's the best way for us to spend this money right now.
Eddie, how much is the renovations?
I really don't know off the top of my head.
I'd have to look.
I mean, Love's, they both started, I thought, about $30 million. One was more in the 20s and one was in the 30s. But Love's got to like 60.
Yeah, I want to say
by the
Love's,
time it was
I
done.
think that was the official number. I think it was 60.
Yeah. So even though it was announced as a master plan and that was a construction cost at the time, and we all know fuel and all that stuff is gone up, and inflation is massively screwed up right now. So, it's going to take more probably than $30 million. It might be closer to that 60 for Love's cost.
I guess the good news is they're not looking to build a brand new stadium. It's more of a.
They're close too. I mean, that's like you said, they're not that far away.
No, I don't think so.
In fact, I think that they will get there here, shortly. Kinsey Hansen.
Holy.
Okay,
she got
that
a hold
was
of that
further than
when they're hitting
TRA
it,
Jennings.
nuking her.
No, I think TRA was to dead center.
Yeah, I would go.
They both were up in the
stands. They both were
bombs.
They were not like Jada's where it was.
You haven't
just
seen
barely
home runs like that throughout this series.
That's been the thing. I feel like Oklahoma's hit a lot of home runs, but they've all been just kind of sneaking over the fence. They haven't.
Yeah, these have been bombs.
Yeah,
tonight.
both these two tonight were huge.
And OU's had Texas's number.
Billy Bowman.
In a lot of ways this year.
Scissorhands got the players' tickets.
Guys, to get us back to briefly what we're talking about.
Gosh, she killed that.
Is there a better embodiment of Oklahoma trying to be smart and not knowing what the landscape's going to look like? They're not doing anything with football. That's your biggest moneymaker. If you were going to spend money and you were going to be aggressive, you'd be doing something almost every offseason with football, and they're not doing anything. And that is the clearest indication of let's see where this all settles out. I know everybody wants Josie, go be aggressive, do this, do that. That's how you get these athletic departments that are in terrible condition because they spend money thinking it's going to be there forever rather than like, let's see what the ground looks like in a year's time.
But it's a little bit like what we're going through. I mean, we could be out there doing an NIL program and all this stuff, and we've been approached to do that. But everything that we've done's been like, look, we're heading in this direction to handle whatever comes our way. We're building out our broadcast studios, our facilities, but there's no real execution. My God.
See ya. Who was that?
Pinkerton.
Pickering?
Pinkerton is a Weezer album.
I was like, who?
And also a series of investigators in the 1800s.
No, what's her name again?
Pickering.
Pickering.
Now that I said
Pickering.
Pinkerton, I can't stop unthinking that. So now it's 5-1. So what was Hansen a 2-run home run?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there was like Eddie said, there was an error on the shortstop.
Oh, that's
she
right.
Missed the ball with Parker.
Got a question for you guys. Somebody tweeted me this and told me to ask this on the pod, and I actually think it's a really good question.
Okay.
OU men, football, basketball, and baseball will have 25 opportunities to win the SEC in their first 5 years. Did you guys see this question?
Yes.
And which is 5 in football, 10 in basketball being regular season and tournament. Same with baseball. Over under 1.5 conference titles in the first 5 years.
I saw that question and I shut my brain off and I was like, that's too hard. I don't want to think that hard.
First 5 years. Okay. Is it 20 or 25?
25 opportunities.
25 opportunities.
Regular season or
baseball and men's basketball
tournament.
and football.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Now I'm with you.
So football, there's only 5 opportunities.
Okay, and there's
But
10 in the other two.
10 in the other
okay.
two.
Okay.
Over under 1.5. That's tough, man. Because I look at it as I have no faith in
Here's
the
the
basketball
thing,
program right now.
You know what?
It's baseball
You know
and
what?
football.
Yeah.
Here's what's crazy. You could win a national championship. You could win more national championships than you could conference championships in the next 5 years.
You could argue that in certain years, that's almost easier. Like to
win a national title.
Like if you can get to the playoff, that run of 3 games could be less daunting than the 8-9 game stretch in the SEC. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I believe that, but it's an argument.
Here's the way I viewed
This is officially an SEC podcast.
Yeah, it is SEC.
Here's the way I viewed the question. Is I said I don't think basketball is going to win one, and I probably don't think baseball. But let's just say give them one. Baseball and basketball combined, they get one. Mm-hmm. Then it comes down to, do you think football can win one SEC title in its first 5 years in the conference? That's the way I changed the question in my head.
I think they can. I don't know if I would bet it, though.
I think if they stay on this trajectory that we've seen the last 2 years, I think they could win one by like their third.
Depending on how
or
24
fourth or
You'd like to
fifth year.
see one in football.
It feels
Yes.
like
Oh, yeah, if you
25,
could-
26 are the years.
Yes.
Especially if Jackson's coming back for a second season.
Yes.
Or I guess
Third
technically third season. Yeah.
I hate to be overly
Second
negative.
year
How
starter.
problematic is it if after 5 years OU hasn't won an SEC title?
It depends. It depends because, like Kerry said, if let's say they're getting there or they're just missing out on it, and you could go 11-1, 10-2, and not get in.
Yeah.
But you're in the playoff, and maybe you make a great run in the play. I mean, look at Georgia. Georgia, I think, gets in the playoff.
Did
and a
Ole
12
Miss
team, and
win
they go
any
win the national
SEC
title.
titles when they
But that's
beat
also
OU
Georgia.
in Omaha?
so-
Yeah.
No, they almost
No,
didn't make the
I'm with you,
tournament.
George.
Yeah.
They might be the embodiment of what I just said.
They're the last team
They
in.
make the playoff last year. They win the national title. I firmly
Right.
believe that.
So I mean, I like to think if Brent can keep this thing going the way it's going, and like Eddie said, if you can get Jackson Arnold back in 2026 for a senior season, then you would maybe, and the schedule changes, like you won't have the same schedule that you're having this year and 2020.
I don't know. I mean, if Jackson's as good as we think he is, he probably leaves after 25.
Exactly.
though.
So it's like I don't know. I mean, you'd like to think by the 4th or 5th year you're at least getting to that type of game, but I don't know. It's an interesting question.
I have one more brain teaser before we get out of here.
If you added softball and women's basketball, I would say yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm going to say over just to be the optimistic one.
Here's my
I
question.
don't hate that.
And it's about softball.
I think it's just at 2.
What Mike White did by complaining about the unfair advantage that Oklahoma has, is that something that has hurt him more than helped him? Has it given his team an excuse Because they're down 5-1 right now, and they look like shit.
This is definitely going to come back to bite you in the ass if Texas come back.
I'm not saying. I mean, but I'm just saying.
I don't think it.
Game 1.
I don't think it affects
Texas
I don't
doesn't
think it
look
affects
ready
them
to
either.
play.
I would even venture to guess that half the team doesn't even know.
Yeah, I also think Texas. Mike White has done a really good job there. I mean, he's recruited the girls they have on their team are.
He's just so
elite.
unconventional. I mean, most coaches would say, no, we both play on the same field. We
Well, I mean,
have the same
Gajewski, I thought,
opportunities,
answered it
same
perfectly
number of routes.
when they beat OU in Norman. He just said, we're not afraid of Oklahoma, and I recruit girls to beat Oklahoma, is what he said. I mean,
and then their season just completely fell apart.
yeah, but I mean, I think Gajewski gave the right answer there, and softball.
He turned down Auburn.
Yeah,
But shouldn't we love a guy like Mike White that doesn't give us the canned bullshit answers that everybody I feel like media wants people to say real things, and then when they do, they're like, that asshole, he can't say that. No, that's the guy I love. And I get why OU fans hate him. Don't get me wrong, but
I just like stoking the fires.
Yes.
I love what he says.
It's good for softball if OU and Texas head coaches do not like each other, which I think it's pretty clear they don't.
I think it goes back to more than just the Oklahoma City stuff. It goes back to Jocelyn Allo and the way that he basically didn't recruit her at Oregon.
Yeah.
Alyssa Brito. And then even more so, I think the big disdain is the way that he left the Oregon program for Melissa Lombardi. He basically cleaned the cabinet when he left and left her nothing.
So, remind you of anyone? I mean, just heading out for seemingly not greener pastures.
Well, I think he did head out for greater pastures, though.
Yeah.
Mike White, at least.
Yeah.
I think Texas probably a better job than Oregon.
Lincoln just left for green.
Oh, Jocelyn Allo. Golly.
No, I think Lincoln's the one exception where we just piled on and we were glad to.
Well, I think it was a lot deserved, too.
Yeah.
The way that he handled everything.
And I'll say this, I think we could have kept going for a lot longer than we did. I just don't give a shit anymore.
Nah. It's not worth it it's not. It was more fun when he was having success. Now that you're like,
he's a mess.
If they're on the trajectory he's on in 2 years, he's in trouble.
I think that there's a sense of validation, though, with Lincoln. It's like everything that we were saying in that time period when he did leave, and then everybody piled on to the Oklahoma media from a national perspective. I think it's starting to come around where it's like, yeah, maybe they were right about some stuff.
I've said it before. I don't think there's anything a fan base has ever had more ability to dunk on the national media for than their takes and the media's response to the Lincoln Riley stuff. Almost everything OU fans and OU media, to be fair, said about Lincoln Riley was mocked. It was all taken as sour grapes, blah, blah, blah. And now they're like, I've heard a lot of guys, and to their credit, they're like, maybe OU people were more right. Maybe we should have paid more attention.
Here's the mind blower. If Lincoln Riley had stayed at Oklahoma, he would have been fired after this last season because his defense continued to be so poor, and his quarterback evaluations caught up with him after losing Caleb Williams.
Do you think he could have kept Grinch for 2 more years at OU?
I think he would have tried.
Yeah.
I think he would have got fired, and I think right now we'd be spending our first year covering Brent Venables as the head coach instead of our third.
Wow.
You know what? My favorite thing of the softball games is Brent Venables' tweets.
The emoji-laden tweets.
Well, and he tweets at his players who are all dating, softball
Kobe
players.
McKenzie
He just tweeted at Kobe
Billy
McKenzie about Kinsey Hanson's stronger than him or something. And he uses about 20 emojis.
We've determined that that's an unfortunate name if that relationship works its way through. Kinsey McKenzie.
Oh wow!
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's not.
I give Eddie credit for that. He was the first one to notice that.
Did I?
I thought so.
It wasn't me.
Now,
maybe it was Joe Jr. and I.
Now, as when you get into the married couple, you have to be the and. Kinsey and Kobe goes really well.
Yeah,
that works nicely, but Kinsey McKenzie is a problem.
I'm sure surely they're at that stage of discussing such things. I don't know. You're the expert on
They've
this,
been dating
George.
for 2 months, haven't they?
I'm not the expert on this.
I thought it was a while.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't know. I saw.
They were out golfing with her dad. Kobe's
dad.
Will. Yeah.
Will Tate, yeah.
Will Truby.
Will Truby, yeah.
Yep.
That was the first time I was like, oh, they're dating.
Mm-hmm.
And Bowman and Jada are married.
They are
already,
engaged.
Right?
Well, I think
They're
They're
engaged.
engaged.
right now,
Yeah.
Get that
And they got
BC
an
Clark
NIL deal from
BC Clark.
BC Clark.
I need a BC Clark
that's
deal.
the
I got a
way-
freaking
Wow.
watch from
That's
him.
how you get your engagement
BC
ring.
Clark.
is-
George, not to terrify you, but you need to seek a BC Clark.
I know,
NIL
I
deal,
know.
buddy.
Actually, BC Clark, you need to help George. He likes watches. He just doesn't want to pay a whole lot for them. I've got 2 watches from BC Clark.
Yeah.
Good place.
I'm on a
I'll
budget
take
right
another
now.
if you want to do a deal. All right, that's going to do it. I don't want to rush. Are we good?
I think we've done it.
I think we're full out of great pod content for you. All right, we're going to be back again next week where we'll have camp. We'll still be going, right?
Yep.
So it'll be mid-camp still, but we'll have these 2 days that we're getting ready to cover.
Yep.
Thursday and Saturday, excuse me. The nachos are getting to me.
This time next week, Jaden O'Neal will be about to camp. So we will have a little more information on the Darian Coleman situation and kind of know what the Jaden O'Neal situation looks like. So a little
All
more
right.
to talk about.
Go to Soonerscoop.com. It's only $1. Get that subscription. I tell you what, if you're listening to this on YouTube, use the promo code OU1. You get 2 months for $1. That'll almost take you up to fall camp. So go subscribe now. We're putting in all the work for you guys. Josh is flying all over the country to make sure you have all the best coverage. Go check us out, Soonerscoop.com. It'll all be there throughout the days, tomorrow, and the weekend. And we will see you guys next week on another edition of the Unofficial 40 Podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.